All right, class. So here's the answer to the past few slides there. So kind of had to do them all at once. If you didn't get it right, it's okay on those as long as you participated and drew or wrote something out that supported and made sense and no one word type answers. All right. So on this problem, they had a worker. They had some offices, right? They need to connect cables to it for internet and networking purposes. One worker proposed running the cable between five offices, and they illustrated in the diagram below. So every one of these vertices are a office, and the edge there is a cable connecting that office. Okay, so real quick to the answer. Well, there's 8 cables used, right? We just count them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Explain why this is an inefficient way to run the cable. Well, basically, it's just too many cables for the job. We just need one to connect each computer, right? So we have some overkill here, all right? So like, if you look at the degree of each vertex, it's degree 3, 3, 3, 3. This one is a degree 4. They have more than one cable, right? And cables cost money. So especially if you're like networking, like fiber optics are very expensive. So those cables that you run can cost millions of dollars to run to each node there. So you want to cut that down a bit by not having to run so many of those cables. All right, so that's kind of the idea here. So they asked us, can we make something more efficient where we can get the job done, all the computers are networked without having to run so much cable? And there's several designs. So I'm going to keep the basic layout of the offices, right, like that. We could have done something like this. Run a line there, 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 and there. Okay, that'll connect every office, and we're using 4 cables. So it looks like you can get about 4 edges at least on this. Let's try another one here. So many different ideas that I've seen students come up with. So some of these answers are from previous years of students working this problem. So one of them is an X shape. All right, 4 cables. All computers are connected. One is like a Z. So maybe one of these are the ones that you put in there. And I think the simplest one I've seen, and I'll draw it on top because it's really simple. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I didn't have to keep that pattern. So cable, 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 4 lines connects all the offices. Like I said, the graph doesn't have to represent what's happening in real life exactly like where they're laid out. It just kind of organizes the thoughts of it, right? So we know we have to connect 5 offices. We don't know what it looks like. The original picture has it in like that 5-star shape, where we don't know. Some of these offices could have been upstairs, downstairs. Maybe they're next together in this configuration. Maybe they are lined up in a line. We don't know. We just got to connect 5 offices. All right, so there's the idea behind it. Those are some efficient networks there. Okay, so we only need 4 cables to connect all the computers. However, I do want to say, like beyond the internet, well, for one, for transportation needs, especially if you are military, right? So if you're military, you're general, you're planning stuff, an attack, and especially back in like the 50s and 60s, 70s, when there was the Cold War, and imagine these are cities and they're taken out, right? Or military bases that have been taken out by nuclear weapons or whatever. Part of what helped the internet become what it is the military needing a way to communicate between bases and cities if one of these things got knocked out, right? So let's look at this middle X here. Let's say this was bombed and knocked out. Well, now we have lost connection to all those other cities or bases, communications or operations, whatever those nodes represent. So something like this would be reliable. All right. So if, say, this central city was bombed and knocked out, so if these lines are out, okay, that's fine, but we can still communicate between the other bases because we have another avenue of transportation, or to go to other cities, transportation, or move troops around. So yes, when you make things more efficient, sometimes you sacrifice reliability. Okay, where's the backup? So again, if one of these lines were taken out, okay, now these two have no communication with these three down here. All right, so there's a reliability factor. Just wanted to mention that in making these efficient networks. So something to think about as well. But what are you after? Okay, so if you're a company and you're for profit, you're probably going to want to build as few paths possible, whether it's a road or running fiber optic, or whatever it is. Okay, so so very efficient networks here lack a little bit in reliability. So if one of them goes down, you're going to lose at least one office there. Okay, so I want to define a cycle for y'all. So they asked you about cycles. The definition was given to y'all, so I felt like you could figure it out. And they give you this picture, or I gave you this picture here. Erase this. Okay, well, using this picture, a cycle is basically where you have this a network where one vertex, an edge begins and ends there, right? So I think like in the first Euler circuit one, we had this, right? And that is a cycle there. So this is where we start and finish. Okay, so there's other ones. Okay, we can also have a cycle within the cycle. So that's also a cycle. So I asked you to find two. Okay, and actually I see like I see 5 cycles, maybe 7, right? So each one of those triangles could have a cycle within it. You could also have bigger triangle, cycle there, cycle there, cycle there. All right. So all those are cycles in there. I think I see 7 possible cycles. Maybe y'all can find more. Maybe if you did these other two, probably come up with 9 cycles. All right, so those are cycles everywhere in there. All right, so let me check on this. So with the cycle, basically, if you have a cycle in there, your network is going to be inefficient, right? So if you look at these efficient networks here, and try to erase some of these red marks, right? You can see that they don't have a cycle at all. All right, so when they don't have a cycle, all right, so one of those things is to check for cycles to see if you can get the graph to be more efficient.